Whoa, whoa. Whoa.
What's the problem?
This is an. Whoa.
What's the problem?
This
What's the matter?
This is not a Jet show.
So what?
So how about this?
Manning lobs it. Boris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Oh, come on. I don't want to hear this.
Why not? Super Bowl champions.
Doesn't matter. I just don't want to hear it.
What do you want to hear?
How about some Mets?
Hey, if I can find one good thing that happened to the Mets, here we go.
Home run. Mike Piazza. And the Mets lead 3-2.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be, I'm sorry. We all can't be like the Yankees.
Oh, speaking of.
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly.
No. God, I can't believe I just said that. All right, well, listen. How about a little Nets?
If I have to.
Hit the jumper to win it. He got it.
I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. It's been a second. I can't take it. How about some Knicks?
Oh, yeah. Big spenders. Can't win a playoff.
Fair enough.
Houston pops out up top, down the lane, running jumper off the front rim, and in.
I guess we should talk a little hockey, no?
People even watch hockey anymore?
They watch the Rangers.
Well, if you have the Rangers, you gotta have some violence.
Yeah, no, they didn't have a YouTube in the 80s.
All right, let's get the show started.
Here we are, polar opposites. Hello and welcome to the Polar Opposites podcast on polaropposites.podbean.com. We're also on iTunes. We are actually live again on Spreaker today, and you can follow us on Twitter at the Polar Opposites 1. I'm Matt Stevens. Alongside me, as always,
is Craig Moffitt.
And Craig, we're going to begin the show with a breakdown of the Knicks-Nets first preseason game tonight. It's a big preseason game.
That's not what we said. We said we're going to kick off a Rangers preview.
Right. Sorry, I apologize. We're going to kick off with the Rangers preview.
This is why we have these production meetings.
Right.
10 minutes before.
I apologize. But, the excitement of the Knicks-Nets season that's about to come up is really trumping anything that's happening in New York today.
Of course.
I mean, it's
listen, if you wouldn't, and if you didn't know any better, all day today, people wearing Rangers jerseys, getting excited for Thursday's home opener against Colorado.
Yeah, because, who doesn't love hockey? Where we actually going to start, we're going to do a lot of baseball today. We're going to do both wildcard games. We're going to do a little moratorium on the Mets. I'm going to kill the Mets.
What else is new?
Well, they deserve to be killed. I mean, am I wrong?
For what?
For everything that they do.
Ugh.
They are just bad at every decision they make is usually wrong.
How about we don't do that, and we'll just replay something you ripped them on in the past, and that'll just
no. This is all new.
That'll be the same.
It's all new.
Because, I'm sure the same audio matches from 2 months ago.
We're going to, then change what you do, and you won't get ripped. We're going to talk a little bit about the Las Vegas shooting. We're also going to talk a little bit about Tom Petty, you just heard right there, who died, then didn't die, then actually died yesterday.
Like something out of,
it was a very weird day. It just goes to prove the actual rule of two viable sources before you go with a story is the way to go, right? You don't just sort of just go in and say, hey, Tom Petty's dead, when we probably was essentially dead, but wasn't dead yet. And then, of course, we have closing time, which is an all NFL closing time. We'll do a little Jets and Giants later, and then we're going to do NFL closing time, a bunch of topics going on there. Where we're going to start, Craig.
And why?
Is the AL wildcard game beginning tonight at 8 o'clock. Unfortunately, it's on ESPN, so I have to listen to their announcers. But what are you going to do?
But it's going to be over in the first inning, so what does it matter? Minnesota might as well just go back on the bus and head back to Minneapolis.
Will you stop? It's not that easy.
Why?
Because your team has been in a game like this, and you know how it can go. No matter how much you might be favored or how much better you might be than the other team.
Yes, I know.
Everything can just go wrong in one game.
I am so scared of Eddie Rosario and Eduardo Escobar. Oof.
Listen, I sat right behind Eddie Rosario, and he is an average baseball player.
Thank you. And he's hitting cleanup.
Right, but it's not about the lineups, right? It's about the pitching, because you don't know, right? Guys can just have pitching. If you would have gone into the 2003 World Series and said, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get dominated by this pitcher who's pitched like 1 year in the major leagues, I would have laughed at you. And then look what happened. Okay? Anything can happen.
Okay.
Now,
For the record,
Now, that being
hold on.
said-
I have the floor. Okay? First of all, Yankee fans, just accept your fate. You're winning the
stop.
World
Will you
Series.
stop?
Why even play these games?
do you know that Vegas doesn't think that?
Who cares?
Vegas is usually right about this stuff.
Who cares what Vegas thinks?
Here's what I'll say. As a Yankee fan, the Yankees should absolutely win this game. I'm not saying they're going to. I'm saying they absolutely should win this game. They should win it pretty easily, to be honest with you. But again, it's one game, so as high as my confidence factor is, that's how high my scared meter is, because losing this game would be kind of a disaster. Real quick, if you haven't heard, the lineups tonight for the Twins is Brian Dozier, Joe Mauer at second base, first base, Polanco at short, Eddie Rosario left, Eduardo Escobar at third, Max Kepler at right, Byron Buxton in center, Jason Castro at catcher, Robbie Grossman is the DH. And in case you're having a little deja vu in the old stomach there, Jason Castro was the catcher the night that Dallas Keuchel shut the Yankees down 2 years ago. So there's that. As for the Yankees, you got Gardner in left, Judge in right, Sanchez at catcher, Gregorius at short, Castro at second, Bird at first, Hicks in center, Ellsbury at DH, and Todd Frazier at third with, of course, Severino on the mound. Couple things, because the lineup for the Yankees wasn't set. Are you surprised that Matt Holliday didn't get the start here at DH?
No, I don't think so.
You didn't think that just having a guy who, like, let's be fair, Ellsbury's won a World Series and Gardner's won a World Series, okay? I'm trying to think if anybody else has been in a playoff game. I think Greg Bird played 2 years ago at first base.
But no one's going to give a
Scherzer
rat's ass if Aaron Hicks was in the lineup compared to...
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Would you have...
It's all going to come... This is what it's going to come down to. If Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez screw the pooch tonight, those are the two that are going to get probably blamed the most. Because I don't think the rest of the lineup, outside of Gregorius and Castro, not the most intimidating in my opinion.
Well, I mean, Starlin Castro's a good hitter. Greg
No, he
Bird is a
is.
good hitter. Here's I guess what you'd see from Joe Girardi here is that he's playing for defense, right? Because he put Aaron Hicks in center. If he was playing for hitting, he would have put Ellsbury in center and he would have DH'd Holiday, right? But he's putting defense first. And so that's why you have Hicks in center, because he's a better defensive player right now. He's got a better arm than Gardner, and that's why you're having Ellsbury DH, who's been excellent.
It's not going to matter. This game will be over in the third inning. It's over.
Would you like to wager on this, sir?
No, because I know.
So there's no actual.
Wager that the Yankees will win tonight?
By the third inning. It would be out of hand by the third inning. You are so confident about this. I want you to put something where your mouth is. It doesn't have to be money. It could be anything.
Like what?
I don't know. Weed, beer. I don't know.
Blood?
Sure.
No, I need blood.
Well, you
blood
could
to live.
We could. Whoever loses has to donate to a blood bank. Whoever loses has to donate $20 to a Puerto Rican
that I would do.
a fund.
I'd actually donate $50.
All right, you want to do that? If the game is out of hand, so we have to decide what out of hand is.
Okay.
By the third inning, you said.
No.
No, here we go.
Fourth
Here
inning.
we go.
Fourth inning.
Fourth inning. Out of hand. What's out of hand?
That's up to you.
No, that's up to you.
The Yankees have to be up by at least 4 runs.
4 runs. At least by the fourth inning.
And if I lose, then I will donate. I will be more than happy to lose this bet. Donate.
It usually probably means the Yankees are going to lose.
Right? I will donate to whichever charity you want me to donate. $50.
And I will if the Yankees are up by, say, 5 runs in the fourth inning. Now, no matter the outcome, right?
No matter the outcome, even though I already know they're going to win.
But I'm saying, like, if the Yankees are up, say, 5 runs in the fifth inning, like, and then they lose the game.
The outcome doesn't...
Right, it's just...
No, the outcome doesn't matter. Well, we won't do outcome doesn't matter. I just said, because I already know the Yankees are going to win tonight, so it doesn't matter.
So if the Yankees are up 5 runs by the fourth inning...
I said 4 runs.
Well, more than 4 runs, or 4 runs or more by the fourth inning, no matter the outcome of the game.
The fourth inning has to be over.
So the top of the fifth.
By the top of the fifth.
This just keeps getting worse and worse. All right, fine, let's do it. I'll donate $50 if they are.
Okay.
If the game's out of hand, we'll do it.
And I'll let Matt pick the charity. He's got to research the charity.
I'll contact Lin-Manuel Miranda and see where he
That's
would
fine
donate
with
to.
me because if I know him, he's legit. And
oh yeah, no, he'll give you a good. I'm sure I'll look at his Twitter page and see where he's donating, and we'll donate there. We'll do that next week. Obviously,
they take charge though, right?
Yeah, of course.
There's no electricity there. I just want to make sure.
Well, but it's not. The website isn't in Puerto Rico. It's just a place to send money so somebody else can send something. Jeez. God.
Okay, here it is. Ready? Yada, yada, yada. The Yankees are going to win.
Okay, so.
Yada, yada, yada. Aaron Judge.
Well, but let's talk about this for a minute because there's been a lot of. Forget about the breaking down the game because that's sort of irrelevant right now. If you're a Yankee fan, you're listening to this, you know what needs to happen. And if you're a Twins fan, let's be fair. The Yankees are a considerably better team than you are. And for you to win, Irvin Santana is going to have to pitch 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, right? Would you agree with that? For them to have
well, I don't know about 2 hits, but I definitely think
like
as
one
long as
run or
he's
less.
He can't get in. He's got to get 1, 2, 3 innings. I'm not saying he's got to pitch a no hitter, but I mean he can't keep getting into trouble every inning. Is my point.
So you're saying you got to have low hits and like 1 run. I mean, it can't be really much more than that, right? Now, look, I know Severino wasn't great the last time he faced the Twins, but if Severino gives up 2 runs, he's coming out of the game. They got Chad Green. They got everybody set up there. So, hell, Joe could pull Sevy in the 2nd inning when he's pitching lights out if he gets into trouble. I mean, it's really could be that quick. So, I don't think he would do that, but it could be that quick. So, unless the Twins get an absolute phenomenal lights out performance, the game is probably going to go to the Yankees, especially with the power they have in that park. Now, we have 2 groups of people as far as the wild card go. We'll say 3 people. There's a group of people that don't give a crap, right? No matter what it is, they'll watch, and that's fine. There's a group of people that hate the one-game playoff and a group of people that love the one-game playoff, right? Mm-hmm. And the people who hate it, their reason for it is that baseball is a game that's played in at least 3-game series, and we have to play it like that all the time. So why are they just getting 1 game? They should do it like they do it in Korea and blah, blah, blah.
Because it would take forever.
Well, no, the way they do it in Korea is interesting. It would be an interesting thing. So what would happen is if the Yankees won tonight, right, that would be it. The Yankees would move on.
Okay.
If the Yankees lost tonight, they would play the next day again. The Twins basically would have to win 2 games. The Yankees would have to win 1.
Okay.
It's a best of 2, I guess, unless the Yankees win the first one.
Okay.
Personally, and look, the Yankees are about to play this game where literally anything could happen and they could lose, right? Now, I know, don't give me the look. I know that they're probably going to win the game, but you understand my point that in baseball,
of course,
anything can happen.
Anything can happen, but
even still, you have to have it be
and
this
not only
way.
that, one of their best hitters isn't even playing tonight, Miguel Sano. So there's another.
Yeah, but that's better than him playing hurt.
There's another positive. Right? There's another positive for the Yankees.
But also, they haven't been out without Sano for like 3 weeks, and they've been winning, so it's not that big a deal.
Not to mention, they're probably going to win Game 1 against the Indians because Corey Kluber's not pitching. It's Trevor Bauer.
We'll talk about that a little later because that flummoxed me a little bit because
unless Kluber's got an issue.
Well, but 1 game, it's 1 day. It's not even. It's 1 day. But real quick, I know you seem to fall on the line of you don't care.
I'm like, well, obviously, look, I don't have.
You don't think it should be a best of 3, right?
I don't have as much of a vested interest in the playoffs, obviously, because the Mets aren't in it. So, but I mean, I'll watch it to an extent, but I'm not going to be glued to it 24/7.
Forget about this year. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about in general the wild card game.
I'm going to be honest. I like the wild card. I like the 1-game wild card.
I do too. I agree.
You know why? Like, listen. Last year, when the Mets had to play the Giants, they had to play Bumgarner.
Right.
And in 1 shot, they got Syndergaard.
Yep.
And both pitchers were outstanding in that game, and it really just came down to 1 pitch by Familia that cost the Mets the game. Other than that, it was a well-played game by both teams.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know what? You just have to tip your hat in 1 game and just say, they were the better team tonight. We played our best. So in many ways, the thing is, if you can't keep dragging out these series because then you'll be playing baseball until December.
No, I agree.
You know, so listen, it's a 1 wild card game between the Yankees and the Twins and the Rockies and the Diamondbacks, and that's it. That's all you need is 1 game to get on to the real playoffs. Where Washington's playing Washington's playing the Cubs, and the Dodgers are playing the winner.
Well, let's
Colorado, Arizona.
Let's say this, okay? If nothing else, nobody will say this. But you know that Major League Baseball wants the Yankees to beat the Twins tonight, right?
Of course.
Right? I mean,
it's a ratings disaster. No disrespect to Minnesota, but it is a ratings disaster if Aaron Judge is not in the next round.
If the Yankees in Cleveland is actually a big series, and then you match that with Houston and the Red Sox, and then the National League series are just as good.
Can you imagine if the
Nationals Cubs is Diamondbacks Dodgers? And look, I know everybody, get off my back. The Diamondbacks are winning, right? The way you feel about the Yankees tonight is the way I feel about the Diamondbacks tomorrow.
Well, listen, I want to give the Rockies a chance. I just really think their pitching has no playoff experience. I think the Rockies' whole team has no playoff experience. because they haven't been there for so long.
Maybe Cargo, maybe one game.
Derek Holland has postseason experience with the Royals, but I think he's even hurt. I don't even know if he's playing. I think they want Diamondbacks Dodgers more than Rockies Dodgers. I think the Dodgers will just destroy the Rockies.
Yeah.
It would be really fun, though, to see a playoff game in Colorado in this type of month, depending on how cold it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a friggin' launching pad in Coors Field if they get that game to Colorado. If Colorado happens to win the wild card game and then play the Dodgers, games 3 and 4 in Colorado are going to be like batting practice.
Well, let's be fair. There's a pretty good chance that in the World Series, it's going to be at least one, possibly two very cold weather cities.
Yeah.
It could be Boston Cubs, for crying out loud.
That's what I'm saying.
It could be Yankees, I guess it would have to be Yankees Nationals.
Or
Yankees Rockies, which I doubt would happen.
Or Yankees Dodgers.
Yankees Dodgers would be fun.
Or Yankees Cubs.
Again, it's the MLB thing, right?
You didn't just see what I did there?
I know.
Notice I didn't name any other team.
I know, because you're a jackass. And
Keith Siskin, drink up, buddy.
Because you're, is that why you every time you say the...
Well, Keith texted me before the show.
Yeah.
And he said that he was thinking about doing a drinking game based off of how many times I jinxed the Yankees.
Okay.
All I told him to do was, number 1, don't drive a car. And number 2, don't operate heavy machinery because you're going to probably lose an arm.
Yeah.
But I really do believe they're going to win.
But what I'll say is that, again, Major League Baseball won't ever say it, but they would love some form of Cubs, Dodgers versus Yankees, Cleveland, Boston.
Yeah, I don't know how they feel about Houston. Although a lot of people will like Houston because they're a young team and they're very good.
And the hurricane and all that stuff, they'd be on Houston. But I'm saying from a national ratings number, if you want big numbers,
I think you want Yankees Dodgers
or Yankees Cubs. That would have been bigger if the Cubs hadn't won.
Dodgers, not as much as Dodgers.
Right, but also if the Cubs hadn't won
yet, why?
That would be bigger.
I don't think there are as many Cubs fans in New York. I don't. I think there's more Dodger fans, to be very honest. And take it from a guy who's been the Mets-Dodgers game.
Listen, no, I agree.
There's a ton of Dodger fans in New York. It's almost like what I say about the Jets and the Dolphins. Like, how many Miami transplants are at MetLife?
Your
like
TV ratings for that series would be excellent. Although I think really any Yankees Red Sox World Series would have big ratings. Real quick on the game tomorrow night, they haven't announced the lineups yet because they don't have to. I think until like noon tomorrow or something. It is going to be Greinke, though. I'm correct in saying that? I would hope.
No, Greinke's starting for Colorado. I think it's going to be John Gray.
Oh, yeah, John Gray. Cool. All right. So that'll be a good pitching matchup. And look, what it comes down to basically is it's like every team now has the two guys, right? The two guys that mash.
Sure.
This is J.D. Martinez and Paul Goldschmidt. For Colorado, it's Arenado and Charlie Blackmon. And they have other guys who can hit, but you know what I'm talking about. The two main guys. Yeah. For the Yankees, it's Sanchez and Judge. You know, for the Indians, it's probably Lindor and I would guess Encarnacion, but maybe somebody else in there as well. You know what I'm talking. And the Red Sox, it's Betts and those guys. And that's really what it is. Like, if you're a pitcher pitching against these guys, you can't if you lose the game because Jacoby Ellsbury or because Drury hits a 2-run homer off you, then you just tip your cap. But if you lose because J.D. Martinez and Paul Goldschmidt beat you, well, that's just your own stupidity.
No, of course. I mean, listen, there's going to be some challenges. I mean, how to work around counts with some of these guys and everything like that. I mean, especially with the Rockies on them because they can mash. And not only can they mash, they also have just good overall contact hitters. I mean, you take into account like DJ LeMahieu. Mark Reynolds can still go deep when he needs to.
The shortstop can hit for power.
I'm not obviously the big weakness for me with Colorado is their pitching. I don't think their rotation is that great, but it's much improved under Bud Black than it was at any time under any manager in the last 5 or 6 years in Colorado. Is Holland back or is he still hurt?
Because
I know he was closing, but now I don't even know who's closing for them anymore. Because I know he was hurt.
There we go.
The Rockies are going to try to win this game on offense. I really do. I think they're going to try to give their, Trevor Story's another guy. I totally forgot about him.
They don't have him listed on the DL.
Okay, so he's back. Where the Rockies, I think, could win this game is in the bullpen. I'm not 100% sold. I like Arizona's bullpen. I don't like Rodney in a closing situation.
Oh, God,
I'll take
no.
Holland over Rodney
Yes,
any day of the week.
absolutely.
Neshek's been a nice little pickup for them since they got him and Mike Dunn, and Adam Ottavino and everything. I just think at the end of the day, Colorado's winning this game on offense. I don't see it going to be I don't see it being
If
a
they
pitcher's
win.
duel. If they win. I don't see it being a pitcher's duel. I just don't, because I just don't think the Rockies have the arms to match with the Diamondbacks. And Greinke, Gray cannot match up with Greinke that well. But then again, it's one game, just like you said about the Yankees
Sure,
Twins.
absolutely.
And the fact is, Gray could pitch the game of his life tomorrow, and Greinke could struggle.
Yeah, and
So-
if Greinke craps the bed, that team can hit. And I don't know about their long guys. Do they have somebody who can come in the second inning and stop the bleeding?
Well, this
you know
is
what
one
I
of
mean?
those games where, quite frankly, everyone's on deck.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I'm
But
saying, like, do they
except-
have that guy, right?
Except for whoever pitches. If whoever pitches the game, if Arizona wins and they move on to game one against the Dodgers, whoever's starting that game will probably not pitch in this game.
Well, for the Yankees, like, Masahiro Tanaka's not even on the roster today. Mm-hmm. And that because he's starting game one if they make it there. So you're going to have two starters backing up. The thing about these games that's weird is that, like, sometimes you'll get guys who pitch in situations they don't normally do. So if, say, Greinke or Gray has trouble through the first couple innings and you decide to bring a starter in, will he be able to come out of the bullpen when it's something they may never have done before if it's early in the game and you don't have a bridge guy, a guy who can pitch 3 innings out of your bullpen? This game could be 10-9. It literally could be, or it could be 1-0. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but, like, both these offenses are explosive. They score a ton of runs, these teams. Mm-hmm. And you're also talking about playing in Arizona, which, say what you want about Colorado, Arizona ain't no pitcher's ballpark neither. That place is a launching pad, especially when the roof's closed. And I assume the roof will be closed because it's freaking Arizona.
Well, what's the game time? 8 o'clock?
Which is 7 o'clock there, or is it 7 or 6
It's actually
o'clock
more
there?
like 6.
I think it's 6 there,
6
right?
or 5, actually, too. Because I think
It's not.
3
I don't
out.
think it's 3. I think it's 2.
Okay.
I think, but I could be wrong about that. But because I feel like when the Mets play in Arizona, it's a 9 o'clock, not a 10
It
o'clock.
is a 9:30 game.
So that, you know. But anyway, so that's the thing. You don't know. And people talk about Colorado as being a launching pad. Arizona's a launching pad.
Yeah.
You get a lot of home runs there. So we have 2 good games coming up the next 2 days.
So the rest of the playoff matchups are whoever wins tonight's AL wildcard game, which will be the Yankees, will be heading to Cleveland to play game 1 against the Indians. A little bit of an odd choice for game 1. That's the Indians starting Trevor Bauer over Corey Kluber, which is a little bit of a surprise. So I don't know if Kluber pitched right before the end of the season.
The reasoning that Francona gave was that they want Kluber for a game 5 if it gets to that. But wouldn't you rather have him for game 3 than game 5 if he's going to pitch, or game 4?
You want him for game 4, and then you'd want him for game 7.
Well, no, it's the first round, so there's only 5.
Oh, it's only 5. Okay.
So, but like,
unless pull up Trevor Bauer's stats real quickly. You know what it is? Listen. I'll never judge Francona because I think he's a terrific
great manager.
So it's almost like what we say about Bill Belichick. Like we'll never second guess his decisions. Maybe we'll second guess Francona's a little bit more than Belichick, but I'm not going to necessarily second guess Francona's decision here, because if he feels that this is the right guy for game 1, then let it be for game 1. I mean, the thing is, Trevor Bauer can pitch as well, but at the end of the day, the bats are also going to have to be alive too. And I think they'll be fine with that game against Tanaka. But again, you're not really throwing it all on your pitcher to just pitch them to a shutout.
Trevor Bauer this year is 17-9, and we don't really look at wins losses with pitchers, with a 4.19 ERA in 176 innings. He had 181 hits. B gave up 25 home runs, 60 walks, and 196 strikeouts. And his whip.
So he gives up some runs.
His whip was 1.3.
He gives up some runs. However, he can definitely strike out. He could definitely strike out, guys. He has almost 200 strikeouts this year. So
yes, in less is 196 strikeouts and 181 innings, 176 innings. Sorry.
Okay, so you could definitely know he strikes out, guys.
But let's bring up Kluber. See, I guess it's like I was watching. Who was I watching? It was one of the guys on MLB Network, right? And he said that the Yankees should save Severino. Well, also John Smoltz said this, but he had a different idea. John Smoltz said they should have started CC Sabathia tonight and save Severino for game 1. My thing is get to game 1 and then deal with game 1. If I throw Sabathia tonight and he gets blown out,
You're
you're
gonna
going
get ripped.
to get killed. How? Because you didn't pitch your best pitcher. So I always say that. But then some other guy, I can't remember who it was. I wish I could. Brian Kenny, maybe. And he's talking about how the Yankees should start Chad Green tonight and have Chad Green pitch 2 innings, then have
we don't want to
then have Adam Warren pitch 2 innings, then Canely pitch an inning, and Robertson pitch an inning, and I'm like,
You don't want to do that.
but that's even dumber.
I mean, first of all, you're going to exhaust your bullpen if you're already throwing them out in the wild card game. The fact is, you go with this is a one and done game. It's a win or go home game. You put your best pitcher out there right now for that game. And the Yankees right now, the best pitcher they have is Luis Severino. There's no question about it. Are the Twins going with their number 3? No, they're going with their number 1, and it's Irvin Santana.
Right.
It's a win or go home game.
But the other thing that doesn't make any sense to that, and I understand what he's saying if you look at metrics and numbers, but this is where metric and numbers don't. This is where they cloud your judgment. Because what the Yankees are asking tonight is for one guy to have a really good performance, right? Mm-hmm. The way he wants to do it, you're asking 7 guys to be really good all on the same day. Now, we've watched enough baseball to know that no matter how good bullpens are, there's always that one guy every once in a while who just doesn't have it for inexplicably, right?
Sure.
And you're just asking too many things to go right in that situation. No matter how good metric-wise your bullpen is, needing one guy to be very good as opposed to 7 be excellent is silly to ask for.
And the thing is, this is what sometimes
the numbers.
you and I can be baseball analysts as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
because here's the bottom line. You can try to play the checkers game and chess game all you want with the pitchers and everything, but it's not going to mean anything if you don't get there. So if you go, well, we're going to start Chad Green in the wild card game tonight because we're going to beat Minnesota. So you're like me, and you're basically saying the Yankees are going to win tonight regardless. You could start anybody tonight. Doesn't matter. The Yankees are going to win, right?
Right.
So how can you possibly start playing chess against the Indians for the ALDS when you're not even there yet? You're not there.
Well, no, that's why I'm saying you start Severino.
Of
I would
course.
never not start Severino. Never. And the only person that I would start instead of Severino is CC Sabathia. And I know that's completely crazy because they're like on 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. But I'd either go with my best arm or the guy who's been there before.
Sure. I mean, listen.
So I would do that.
Sometimes I think these analysts tend to overthink things
my
because
God.
they're like, and the thing is, that just goes to show you how they literally have no respect for the Minnesota Twins.
Or no respect for eyes.
So let's go. So let's pitch Chad Green tonight because then the Twins aren't going to hit him anyway.
But also no respect for eyes. If you've ever watched baseball, okay, you know that the bullpen is the hardest thing to predict year to year, right? Even game to game, right? Because look at Aroldis Chapman this year. The Yankees re-signed him. Everybody thought it was a great signing, right? Great signing. For a month and a half in the middle of the season, he was terrible. And he blew tons of games. You know the Yankees bullpen, for as great as everybody talks about it, had 24 blown saves this year? That's terrible. Mm-hmm. They would have won the division. If they didn't blow half those games, they win the division going away. And so, like, the idea that you think 7 guys could be just as good as one guy, the odds of that happening are not great, I would imagine. Real quick on Kluber. Kluber is 18-4 with a 2.25 ERA, 203 innings, 141 hits. I mean, that's ludicrous, right? He had what was his walks? And he had 36 walks.
Who pitches game 2 for the Yankees?
It's probably going to be Sonny Gray.
Sonny Gray. Okay.
Right? Tanaka, Gray, because Severino won't be able to pitch because it'll be 5 days. He pitches today, Tuesday, so Sunday.
And actually, it makes sense to pitch Sonny Gray because he hasn't been that good at Yankee Stadium.
No, but he's better on the road.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
absolutely.
what I'm saying. He's better on the road.
Well, because look, Yankee Stadium's hard to get used to because balls that are fly balls in almost every other park are home runs there, right? So you have to. It's harder to pitch to. What I don't understand about this move is I feel like this is we both Terry Francona I think is the best manager in baseball. I think we can have the argument, and you wouldn't be wrong if you said Bruce Bochy or you said even Buck Showalter. You wouldn't be wrong. I think I'm right. This looks scared to me. This is scared to me. This is playing to the thing where you think you're going to need a pitcher in Game 5, and that makes no sense to me.
Well, what I don't understand is you pitch your best pitcher Game 1. Okay?
Always.
And the thing is, Kluber is lights out, hands down, your best pitcher. He's the best arguably the best pitcher in the American League. Okay, I'm just saying arguably because everybody has a different opinion of
yes,
who
but
that might
he
be.
will win the Cy Young this year going away.
Okay,
because of sales September mostly.
When you make a move like that, and I'll agree with you to an extent, you are playing a little scared. But again, it's Kluber, not for nothing. He's dominated the Yankees.
I know.
So why not pitch him Game 1?
Why not pitch him 2
crowd?
games?
Pitch him at home crowd.
Right.
Okay. Instead, now if you pitch him Game 2. And you've already lost Game 1. Now it's a shitload of pressure on Kluber to win that game.
But also, you may not even get to Game 5. I'm saying the Yankees could win in 4, and then you wouldn't have pitched him twice.
And that's
what makes no sense.
It's almost like you pitch him Game 1. If you're down 2-1 going into Game 4, you bring him back for Game 4. If he comes back and wins Game 4 for you and you're tied, and you know you got to get to, if it goes to 7, you got him for Game 7.
Well, 5. It's only 5-game series.
No, I know. Okay. You know what I mean. So you pitch him in Game 4, then it goes, who do you have for Game 5? I mean,
but you got to win Game 4 first.
Yeah.
So you're going to hold him for Game 5. What if you're down 2-1 in Game 4? I mean,
no, I agree.
I mean,
listen,
sense.
I just think at this point, listen. Again, we said it twice already, so we'll say it a third time. I'm not going to second guess Terry Francona. If he thinks this is the way to go, then this is the way to go. But if Bauer gets roughed up in Game 1, you're going to have a lot to answer for. That's all.
It just seems weird. I've never seen a pitcher. I've never seen a team do that. The only time I think I've seen a team do that was the Red Sox did it once, but Pedro was coming off an injury. And so they didn't want to pitch him right away.
And the thing is, Francona must have a lot of confidence in Trevor Bauer.
Well, he's been excellent for the past month and a half. I mean, that ERA has come down. He's been very good for the last month and a half. But you remember who Trevor Bauer is, right? He's a guy last year that jacked up his finger on a drone in the Toronto series and had to come out of that game because he was bleeding from the finger. Yeah. So, people do stupid things. Maybe they won't have him for Game 1 and it'll end up being Kluber no matter what. All right, let's talk about the Mets.
I'm going to let Matt do his spiel.
No, look, here's the thing. I don't mind that you're not bringing back Terry Francona. Terry Collins. I don't mind that because the guys, if you want to change managers, I have no problem with that. I do have a problem with saying that he's retiring when he just accepted another position with the Mets, and then somebody from the Mets comes out and badmouths him in the news.
Well,
and
that
blah, blah, blah.
That I have a problem with. Because
I have a problem with that. The other thing I have a problem with is the head of the strength and conditioning is gone. We don't know why. It's a weird thing because nobody else from the staff's gone. Nobody. All the other people are staying. You're talking about a team that fired its pitching coach, or when I say they didn't. They were contracts were up, and they have not
They have not renewed Warden yet.
The pitching coach gone, right?
Not yet.
No, they're not bringing him back.
I heard that it's not a done deal yet.
Oh, really? I saw today that they are not,
maybe not.
Offering him a new contract. And the head athletic trainer, Dr. blah, blah, blah. But all the other athletic trainers are back. The Mets have been a medical nightmare for, 15 years? And they're bringing all these people back. Like, either break it down and start over again or keep everybody. But you're going to keep 3 guys here. You're going to keep the hitting coach, and you're going to keep the third base coach, but you're not going to keep the manager. So the next manager that comes in is going to have to keep Kevin Long as the hitting coach.
Not necessarily.
And Shuby Boombatz as the third base coach.
Not necessarily, because it really depends if whoever they get to manage a team. If they get a different manager, obviously they're going to have a different manager who may not want Kevin Long. Now, Kevin Long's done a pretty good job with their hitters, so they may not want to upset the apple cart right there. But at the same time, they're going to want to bring in somebody they're more comfortable with. So, for example, I've heard some of the names that have been going around. Don't necessarily love them, but whatever.
Super Joe McEwing. Is he managing in the minors right now?
I think he
has to be, right?
He's either managing with the minors or he's with the White Sox as a bench coach or a third base coach or something like that.
Oh, right. I think he is. I think he is on the White Sox not roster, but you know what I mean.
I heard Ventura, which I don't really have a problem with, but I mean,
he was terrible in Chicago, and I know the team wasn't great, but I mean, look at a guy like Buck, right? Like a good manager can do a lot for your team.
But it's not going to be. I have a feeling it's going to wind up being either Guerin or it's going to be like Chip Hale unless they really, really want to keep Kevin Long, and I just don't think that they like Kevin Long that much.
What the hell has Bob Guerin ever done to deserve more
honestly,
chances?
Out of all the guys I've heard, the one guy I would take is Alex Cora.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would take Alex
He's
Cora
a good baseball
100%.
guy. Yes.
And the thing is like,
and that's what the Mets should do.
If the Mets are just going to go out and just say, okay, well, I know Chip Hale, so I'm going to hire Chip Hale, then you're wasting your time. There's no point in having a managerial search. Okay? If you want to wait this out a little bit to see where Houston goes and then maybe interview Alex Cora afterwards, I would rather do that.
Well, what the hell do you need a manager for right now anyway? It's not like football, right?
No,
you could hire a manager right before spring training. It wouldn't really matter.
The thing is, as long as you get your manager in place before the winter meetings, right,
Yeah.
in December, then you're good.
Yeah.
Okay? So why rush?
I agree.
Okay, has anybody else been fired yet from their jobs? Because I haven't really heard. I haven't heard much
just,
about.
Tigers, I believe, is
Okay,
the only one.
Osmus is the only guy fired. Okay, so Osmus is not even probably going to be considered because he wasn't really that good of a manager anyway.
But again, bad teams, right? Do we hold that against him or not?
You hold some of it against him.
Because if I hold that against him, then nobody that the Mets are offering a job to, other than guys
Honestly,
who haven't managed yet, should be managing.
Honestly, a Tigers team that had Verlander, had Anibal Sanchez, that had Miguel Cabrera, had J.D. Martinez, had Ian Kinsler, Justin Upton. I mean, they should have won some games.
Yeah, but those guys are all hurt. They were all hurt.
They should have won some games. But even the younger guys they have, like Castellanos, Avila.
No, they should have won. And is that on him? I don't know. Probably. You always blame the manager. I'm just saying that if we're going by that, then the only guys you really are looking for are Kevin Long, because he's never managed in the. I think he managed it as single A, and you're looking at Alex Cora. And to me, if you really want to show your fans that your manager is not some robot who's going to do whatever upper management wants to do, then you would hire somebody like Alex Cora, who will manage by the numbers, but will also manage sometimes by his gut, which is getting away from in Major League Baseball. They don't do it anymore.
Look, my advice would be, not like anybody's going to listen to me anyway, but listen, take your time with this search. I don't think there's any reason to hire a manager in the next 2 weeks.
No.
You throw out your general interviews. You do your general interviews like you want to do. You want to interview Ventura, go interview Ventura. You want to interview Osmus, go interview Osmus. You want to interview Hale and Guerin, fine. But then I want you to wait until some of these teams start getting eliminated, because I want to see who else is out there that from a playoff caliber team that you might be able to bring in as manager. Okay? Outside of that, look, with regards to Terry did a great job.
Great job
with the Mets. This year maybe was the exception to the rule, because I know they had the injuries, but I also know he made a lot of bonehead mistakes, I think, this year. But that being said, the injuries were a factor. Whether you want to, and I'm not I'm not a big fan of using injuries as an excuse, but at the same time, you can't ignore it, how bad it was, because it was just one after another. And the Mets would be that team that would get one guy back and then lose three guys in the same week.
Right.
That's how rough it was. So in some ways, Terry was managing to fail because there was nothing they could really do at that point. You can only bring up so many guys from AAA.
Absolutely.
To put Band-Aids on this stuff.
Listen, we both thought Terry Collins should have been the manager of the year, at least one of the last 2 years.
Of course, especially the World Series year, he should have been the manager as far as I'm concerned.
Even last year. Look at all the injuries they had last year, and they actually made it to the wild card game. It's crazy.
So that's that. I appreciate everything Terry did. Like, Terry was a very good manager. I liked Terry when they hired him. I never had any issues with him, being the Mets manager. We can nitpick about some of the details, some of the decisions he made and all that stuff. But I also felt the other thing is too, but I see this with a lot of managers, they tend to fall in love with certain players.
Yes.
And those guys get
especially
a free
relievers.
pass every chance. And if there's one guy, that I always thought got a free pass under Terry Collins, was Robles. And he was
I
terrible.
knew you were going to say that.
He was terrible.
He would give up 6 runs one day, and then they throw him out the next day.
Yeah. He was terrible for the Mets. He still is terrible.
I so knew you were going to do that.
Okay.
I knew you were going to say that.
Robles was one of those guys that Terry loved. Pitched him every chance he got. Pitched him in big spots. Gave him chances he didn't deserve. And it backfired. I'm not saying that that's the reason why Terry got fired, but I'm just saying that those are the types of decisions that can burn you in the long run.
Right.
Now, like I said, Terry was a great manager. As for the players who are ripping him, give me a break. Okay, like listen, this was a loss.
Well,
season.
it was all. Nobody said it who they were, right?
No, of course not, because every time players do this, they always choose to be anonymous because they don't want to look like jerks.
Did you hear what David Wright called him?
Of course, and you know
He's
what?
So right.
And he is 100%
Gutless.
Right. He is 100% right because he is the team captain. Who barely plays,
right? But he's still the guy. His voice still matters, right?
But the fact that he came out right away in Terry's defense, I thought spoke volumes.
Sure.
I think Terry Collins had a lot of respect in that clubhouse. I think that they really liked him for the most part. Maybe a couple of players didn't necessarily love the way he did things, but whatever.
25 guys in a room, somebody's not going to like somebody.
So, I mean, the fact is, though, is like, look, if you didn't like Terry Collins, just come out and say you didn't like Terry Collins. Don't keep it anonymous. Don't say, because then it just becomes all BS to me. Okay? At this point, it's pretty obvious the Mets needed a new voice, though. So I think the time was right for Terry and the Mets to part ways. I think the Mets could have done something nicer for Terry, like, just an appreciation of what he did for them. Like, like they do the video tributes and all that stuff.
Yeah, something.
Okay, do that towards the end of the season, especially if you know he's not going to be back. It was the worst kept secret in New York, for crying out loud. For them, moving forward, though, again, you can get anybody to manage a team, but the talent has to be upgraded.
Right.
So it's not going to matter who manages a team.
And they have to cut down on these little injuries that nag for a whole season. You know what I mean? Like, Cespedes should not have been flummoxed by this injury all year. They either bring him back too early or they don't do enough. I don't know what the problem is, but, like, if a guy gets a hamstring or a quad or something for the Mets in the beginning of the season, it's with him the whole season. Yeah. He never gets rid of it, and it ends up really crippling them.
And I do agree with you.
Big injuries like arms, like the thing with Harvey, like, you can't stop that. That's just what happens. But some of these things can be prevented.
Well, here's the thing. At the end of the day, the Mets are going to have to do a full evaluation of this roster, pitching and all that stuff, especially starting pitching, because you cannot go into next year with these 5 guys in your rotation outside of DeGrom and Syndergaard.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I don't know what you're going to be able to do for these guys at this point. Harvey has no trade value whatsoever. Matz doesn't really have much trade value at this point. And Wheeler, I think, is still working his way back, but I really think Wheeler's better suited for the bullpen.
Maybe.
I think his arm is just not able to handle.
Well, if they don't bring Familia back, I mean, he's under contract.
He's under contract.
Yeah,
next
okay,
year.
so they're bringing him back.
And they have Ramos back, too, for next year as well. But the thing is that I don't think Wheeler's arm can handle pitching a full season starting. I think
possible.
He's better suited maybe for the bullpen at this point. He just has that Mark Pryor feel to me at this point.
Maybe.
Where he was basically top notch until he got that one elbow injury and it just killed his career. I thought Wheeler showed some flashes, but when you saw he was getting tattooed 3 or 4 starts in a row, his arm was pretty much done.
Yeah.
And as for Harvey, I don't even care at this point if I get anything for Harvey. I just know that I don't know if I can go into the season with Harvey in my rotation, because here's the thing. Here's a hypothetical. What if Harvey pitches lights out in 2018, knowing full well he's going to be a free agent in 2019?
You can't give him money.
But that's my point.
Well, but,
and then the Mets
I don't think any team would do that.
But the thing is, I think the Mets are going to literally be thinking about it the whole time, and it's not worth it.
I don't know, dude. I think he's been so much of a problem. I don't think that they would bring him back.
So at this point, I'd rather put him on another team this year than have to deal with that next year. Because look, even if you get him to the trade deadline next year, you're not going to get nearly as much as you should, because teams aren't going to want to have a rental.
Right, but you'll get more if he pitches well as opposed to coming off the way he pitched at the end of that season. And that's the only reason you wait. Now, that could go the other way, too. He could just be awful, and then you just let him go.
Look, nothing to this point has sold me on the fact that Matt Harvey's going to improve in 2018. Maybe the end of the year was just him working out the kinks. I don't really know. But he was just getting shelled a lot.
Yeah.
He didn't really have one good outing since he had come off the disabled list. So that's a little troublesome for me as, looking into this, evaluating this pitching staff. I'm not worried about Syndergaard. I'm not worried about DeGrom. Outside of that, though, I have a lot of question marks going into next year's pitching staff because, again, you have 3 guys who just cannot stay healthy.
So that's the Mets. We'll, of course, keep you abreast of the managerial situation when they hire one. You will hear what we have to say about that and so on for all the other positions. I mean, all the other ones don't really matter, but,
Let's segue into really quickly talk about the Las Vegas stuff and Tom Petty, and then we'll get into our closing time for the week. You know, sometimes when you sleep through the night, you have no idea what happened the next morning, and then you wake up and you're completely shell shocked at what you just come across on TV. The worst incident in shooting in U.S. history? Or
Well, let's say modern history, because there were plenty of slaughters of Native Americans and slaves that went above 58 people, but we will say, modern history.
But like watching the video, and it starts like where you see the country, Jason Aldean, and he's standing on stage and he hears the pops and he stops. He stops playing because he doesn't know what it is. And he hears it again, and everybody just like starts running for cover. And then you're hearing the stories about how, guy standing next to me got his brains blown out. And like, I mean, like, you thank your lucky stars you are where you are. I mean, but you feel terrible that, there's nothing you can, I guess, maybe nothing you can do about it at this point because it's already happened. And even Las Vegas police were saying this really couldn't have been prevented. I mean,
well,
I don't know. Like,
no. It couldn't have been prevented with the laws that we have in play right now. Mm-hmm. But if we had better laws, then yes, it absolutely could have been prevented. Because if you look at other countries that have strict gun laws, like Australia, England, most of the European countries, they don't have massive, huge amounts of gun deaths every year. So, I don't know.
We are at a point where we have a fucking Muslim travel ban, for crying out loud. That's pretty much what it is.
No,
right?
It's absolutely a Muslim travel.
Okay,
sure.
And everybody's like, yeah, we got to get rid of the Muslims, and we got to get rid of this person, and we got to get rid of this type of person because they're terrorists, and and I'm gonna believe what President Trump tells me, basically, right? But the fact is this guy was a degenerate gambler, from what I read. He had numerous arrests, was supposedly on the FBI's most wanted list for a while, from another part I read. And he's from the United States. He's from wherever he's from. Was it Wyoming or whatever?
Well, but that's what I was talking about yesterday on social media, because the White House and what's her name, Huckabee, the sort of puppet minion Huckabee.
Man, that lady looks angry.
She
all the
creeps
time.
me out, dude. Like, she's the chick from Misery, right? Like, she totally is. Like, you're gonna get caught in her house one day, and she's gonna break your feet with.
It's like she looks like she's raising the people's eyebrow with the rock and everything, because it just looks so freaking
But
angry.
she says yesterday, it's not the time to talk about this stuff, right? Because we have to let them mourn and grieve. Let me give you a little context. What do you consider the worst terrorist attack on this country?
9/11. I would
Okay. 45 days after 9/11, they signed the Patriot Act into law. Now, I'm not saying it's a good law. It's a crap law. It sucks. But that means that days, probably mere hours after over 3,000 people died in 3 different cities and areas of this country, our people in power got together and drafted a over 300-page document and passed it, argued it on the Senate and House floors, passed it in both sections of the House. The president signed it into law in 45 days. You're telling me we can't do this? We can't do 2 things at once? Because I guarantee you, everybody who got shot at, who was shot, and who is dead would much rather we talk about this stuff right after that happened the other day than not fix it. Because the next time it happens, guess what's going to happen? It's not the right time to talk about this stuff. And then we're going to forget about it because Trump's going to say something stupid like he did today, like, thank you, Puerto Rico, for screwing with our budget, like it's their fault that they get hit by a hurricane. And we're going to forget about it until the next mass shooting. And nothing will change.
Yeah, which leads me to that. I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm up to date on everything in politics, but my God, I mean, he just can't help himself.
The problem is how do we hold anybody to different standards after this?
I was talking to my wife about the whole Puerto Rico thing, and she's like, I can't believe Trump said that. I'm like, I'm not surprised in the least. And the reason why I'm not surprised is because he thinks he can just say whatever he feels.
Because he can.
Okay? And the problem is that he feels that he'll say whatever the hell he wants because that's what he ran on. That was his platform. Mm-hmm. His platform was just being blunt and telling people like it is. Okay? And he's doing it the same thing. Like, he's telling the people of Puerto Rico that, well, it's worse because your people aren't helping.
And you screwed our budget up.
Like, do you see what I mean? Like, he has no fucking concept,
Right, but
of just like of anything. And again, people will be, the minute they hear Trump talk is basically like, oh, well, you're not letting him run the country and you're not letting him do this. And I'm like, yeah, they are. I mean, like,
they just can't get anything
his
done.
His own party is turning against him, for crying out loud.
Well, they can't get anything done. But the biggest problem I have is in the future, how do we hold any other president accountable for anything they said when we won't hold him accountable for anything that he said? So we are in a huge problem right now because we either have to tone him down, make him tone down, or impeach him, or the next presidents to come are just going to get worse and worse because they're going to be able to say, well, why can't I say that about Muslims? You had Trump as president.
Yeah.
It's going to be that whole thing. Let's talk about something good bad instead of bad bad.
Okay.
And that's Tom Petty. Real quick. We only got a couple minutes, but just a couple, just wonderful.
Not for nothing. This has been a rough year for celebrities and musicians.
Well, the last 2 years.
There have been some tough passing.
The last 2 years.
Really famous people. Just people that obviously.
I'm just going to play while we're talking. Just
I'm saying like people that like you and I have like grown up with, like acting wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like who died last week? Bernie Casey.
Yeah.
Do you know who Bernie Casey is?
I do.
Okay. Bernie Casey, for people who don't know him, was number one, he was a big blaxploitation actor in the 70s, like the Foxy Brown era. Actually, one of the best movies I've ever seen was I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
Oh, hell yeah.
Where they spoof it.
I'm gonna get you,
right?
sucker.
That movie is hilarious from start to finish. But I'll always remember him as UN Jefferson from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yep.
The leader of the tribe of Lambda, right? Like he was a very famous guy. Now Tom Petty, and this story was crazy because first it was they found him unconscious. Oh no, he died.
They took him off life support.
Yeah. Then they found him unconscious, but his death couldn't be confirmed.
Well,
yet.
the LAPD actually tweeted out, "We have not confirmed this yet. He might not be dead." And then last night they took him off life support. This song is my first introduction into Tom Petty because back when MTV used to play videos, right?
Yeah.
This was the weirdest damn video I've ever seen. He pulls into this like futuristic gas station and like weird shit just happens. And
or even the video for "Don't Come Around Here Anymore," which is
Yeah.
like an Alice in Wonderland theme, and they're cutting her up with the cake and everything like that.
But
I mean, like,
they're like when you think about like you don't go look at Tom Petty's catalog, and you'll realize that like he wrote a ton of songs that people covered that you think somebody else did that he actually did first.
I know. And the thing is, listen, I'm not the biggest Tom Petty fan. I know a lot of people who are.
Yeah.
But he has a lot of good songs. Like this
Oh,
song,
it's a
"Running
great
Down
song.
a Dream," I think is one of his
One of
best
my favorites.
songs.
This is my favorite. What I'm about to play is my total favorite though.
Breakdown.
Yeah. I just love the way it starts.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. I mean, like I said, I'm not the biggest Tom
Nope.
Petty fan, but like I thought he was he's a great musician. He had a lot of great songs, and I always remember "American Girl" is being played during Silence of the Lambs when Buffalo Bill kidnaps the mayor's daughter, the president's daughter, or whatever.
Yep.
Right? Which leads to the infamous "put the lotion in the basket" scene. Listen, another really amazing singer, musician, lost. I mean, unfortunately, this has been a rough couple of months between Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington from Linkin Park, and
Well, it's been a
Tom
rough
Petty.
rock. With the last 2 years, if you think about the last 2 years, we've lost a ton of people. And now, but the thing is like it's hitting more and more close to home for us because as we get older,
And it just
the people
kinda-
we grew up watching are all dying in front of us. Alan Thicke,
Yeah,
Alan Thicke dead.
And the thing is that again, it comes down to basically, people we grew up with, singers we grew up with,
Prince.
And the thing is, it just comes out of left field. It was almost like, remember how Farrah Fawcett died?
Yeah.
But Michael Jackson completely trumped that, and everyone forgot that Farrah Fawcett died because Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
is the king
that
of pop.
happened with somebody when Prince died.
Yeah,
I forget who died, or somebody died and then Carrie Fisher died.
Yeah.
It was something like that where like it's just pure nuts.
I mean, Chuck Berry passed away this year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another guy. I mean,
Now, Chuck Berry was like 100 years old, so like
It doesn't matter. I mean, but
it doesn't matter. But like Tom Petty was 66. Like my friend saw him 3 weeks ago. Like my friend in North Carolina saw him 3 weeks ago. Like that's insane. You see a guy 3 weeks ago in concert and he's dead.
yeah.
At least you got to see that concert.
Again, Chris Cornell is another guy.
Oh, it's-
Greg Allman. I mean,
it's been brutal.
this has been a rough year for musicians and actors too.
And the dude from Eagles died this year, didn't he?
Glenn Frey.
Yeah.
yeah.
Dead.
So listen, Tom Petty, I mean, look, you'll be missed. I mean, you were definitely...
But you will be remembered forever because your music is going to be remembered. American Girl is going to be played in 100 years. It just is. It just is because it's just that type of song.
This is the Polar Opposites Podcast. Check us out, as always, at polaropposites.podbean.com as well as iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at polaropposites1, and we are also on Spreaker.com live.
Yes.
All right, Maddie, let's finish up the show with a little closing time. This is our NFL edition of Closing Time. Eight topics today. All opinions legal, all opinions matter, all opinions vary.
Nope.
But here's the thing. I didn't write it this week.
No. This is going to be horribly grammatically. Just forget about grammar for the next 20 minutes.
I'm just telling you right now, this is not a blooper reel or a gag reel or anything like that. It's literally going to be broken English, mainly because...
This was written by a serial killer.
Yeah, Matt wrote it.
Yep.
And that's it, so...
And suck it up, everybody.
Please.
Craig's got a real job, and I don't.
Please defer all hate mail to Matt Stevens.
Let's go.
So here we go. Let me see if I can read this right.
Oh, you can.
Or maybe what I'll do is I'll interpret it differently.
Sure. Do what you need. Do what you feel.
Okay. The Bears have decided to throw Mitch Trubisky to the Vikings on Monday Night Football. When asked why now, Coach Fox said, quote, he's made great strides and, quote, is ready for the next step. Maddie, are you buying the reason the Bears are giving on changing quarterbacks?
No. First of all, we all know in NFL football how many snaps the backups get in practice, right? They get none. They get like 10 a week, right? And he hasn't played since, game 4 of the preseason, right? It's now week 5. What strides has he made in the past 4 weeks getting 10% of the practice snaps? That shows you he's better than Mike Lennon. What has changed is that they're 0-4, and they're not going anywhere. So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you, right? They see what's going on in Houston. They're like, man, maybe we can get some of that magic. Maybe this guy can come in. Maybe we don't win games, but maybe we're more exciting. Just say that. Just say we're 0-4, and we got to throw this guy to the wolves to see what we have. Don't give me this crap. You can't tell me that in 4 weeks he went from being not good enough to start over a guy who's never started in the NFL, or, you know what I mean, not really, and who lost his job to Jameis Winston as a rookie, and you tell me after 4 weeks all of a sudden Trubisky's that much better? Come on, guys, stop it.
Okay.
Stop with your coach speak.
I don't normally speak Matt Stevens, but the question is, are the Bears better off with Trubisky at quarterback after reading this?
No, I'm saying, just come out.
No, I'm saying after reading this.
Oh, no. Of course not. They're not. They're not better. They're not.
Okay.
Because you don't know what Trubisky is.
Here's what I'll say. Number one, I don't think the Bears gave Glennon enough time. I just don't think he did.
No.
You can't judge a guy in 3 games. I think this is a panic move by John Fox. He's trying to save his job. Mm-hmm. So he goes out and puts Trubisky in. Trubisky has little to no experience against the first-team defense, and he'll find out the hard way when he plays the Vikings on Monday Night Football. Why are the Bears also on Sunday night and Monday Night Football so much this year?
Everybody gets games now because there are so many night games. Everybody gets games.
The fact is look, do I think that Glennon played poorly in the first half of that game? Yes. Do I think he could have played better? Yes. But it's not like the Bears are loaded with talent to give this kid.
Well, they got fooled by that first week, right? By taking the Falcons that far in that game. Yeah. They got fooled by that in that game.
The fact is now teams have caught up to them. So in that sense, no. I don't think they're going to be any better. I definitely don't buy what Fox is saying. I think Fox is just saying it to keep his job.
Number 2, the Rams, Panthers, Eagles, Jaguars, and Bills all top their divisions going into Week 5. Craig, which one of these teams is the biggest surprise, and which one should we have seen coming?
I think the biggest surprise out of all these teams is the Rams.
Yeah.
Because Sean McVay has done wonders with that offense after. And you remember how over the preseason everybody was killing Jared Goff?
Yes.
Like he stinks and all that stuff?
He's been unbelievable.
I mean,
he threw a ball over the middle to Gurley the other day. That was perfect.
Part of the reason why Goff is playing so well is because Gurley's playing really well.
Yes.
And that's a huge factor of their offense. Because their receivers can't make up for the fact if Gurley's ineffective. Now, that's my biggest surprise. The Panthers I'm not surprised about. The Eagles I'm not. The Jaguars, the AFC South is so bad that I'm not surprised the Jaguars are in first place.
But the Jaguars in first place is still a little surprising, no?
The Bills I'm more surprised about. But the Rams to me are the most just because it's the West, and Arizona and Seattle should be playing a lot better than what they're playing.
I would agree with the Rams. I would say the one that we should have seen coming is probably out of all these teams. I know it's going to be weird to say, but probably the Eagles.
Yes. Because I thought the Eagles had a good team going into the year. I just thought their defense was very questionable.
And their offensive line, if it could stay healthy, because when they had Jason Peters last year, they won every game he played and lost every game he didn't. So there you go. If you got those two things, you're going to be good. And the quarterback right now is playing good. He's the best. Right now, that kid is playing the best out of anybody in that division.
Number 3, the Patriots are 2-2, but definitely could be worse, as right now they have the worst defense of the last 10 years, giving up 32 points per game, 5.1 yards per carry, and 116.5 passer rate. Maddie, how many weeks until we start to actually worry about the New England Patriots?
I got to give it more weeks. I think by week 8, if their defense is still playing like this, I think we can actually start to worry. Is that fair? Week 8? Half the season? Yes. Prime time theme, baby.
Oh. You added a theme?
Oh, I added a couple.
Okay.
It's going to be good. But I would say week 8. And to be honest, if you're because look, they're not bringing anybody new in, right? They don't have bad players. Both their cornerbacks are very good. They're getting burnt all over the place right now. Their linebacking core is the same as last year with a couple injuries and whatnot, but they're just not playing well. And they're making the same mistakes over and over again. They're getting beat the same way over and over again, which is very unlike a Belichick team. But I still got to give it to week 8.
It's the same defense from last year, pretty much, with the exception of Minkovich, who had to retire,
right, and
Stephon Gilmore, who's new, but I always thought was not a great signing by New England, because I didn't think he was that good of a cornerback. Malcolm Butler has been terrible this year, which is very shocking because last year he was an elite corner in the Super Bowl. They're bringing back the same personnel, so I can't really figure out what's going on with them. I think they'll eventually right the ship, but those 13-3, 14-2, I don't know. Who's this?
SummerSlam.
Oh, God. You're right. With the Patriots, the thing is that they play in a very weak division, so I think eventually they're just going to bounce back. But having a tough loss like that to Carolina and then having to flip on Thursday to go to Tampa Bay, that's not going to be easy, even if you have Tom Brady quarterbacking your team.
And say what you want, but if the Bills' defense continues to play the way it's been playing, it's going to make it harder for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Just is. Number 4, sources have said the Titans are planning to sign Brandon Weeden, old puffy-faced Brandon Weeden, after Mariota was diagnosed with a hamstring strain. With everyone kneeling now, isn't this the perfect time and offense for Cap to run if Mariota misses time?
Yeah, I think so, because it's basically a run-heavy offense with Henry and DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, a lot of rollouts, a lot of quarterback draws.
The only thing is that's what's kind of hurting them, too, is that they can't run the football because they didn't have a great running. They got killed against Houston.
Right.
And their defense has been atrocious. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think at this point, Kaepernick should be signed by somebody. I mean, you cannot possibly tell me that Brandon Weeden...
Survivor Series.
You can't possibly sit there and tell me Brandon Weeden is the answer to your problem.
And is better than Colin Kaepernick.
So in that sense, I think they should at least consider Kaepernick, but teams are going to stay away from him. And, Jeremy Curley said it this week, which is what I've been saying. He's being blackballed by the NFL at this point.
At this point, now that we've had 2 weeks of so many people kneeling and the president's involved and blah, 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 why wouldn't you? If you're the Titans, you're trying to win that division. Kaepernick gives you the best chance.
Think about it like this. Derek Carr is out for 2 to 6 weeks. You're going to tell me E.J. Manuel's a better quarterback than Colin Kaepernick?
If you're the Raiders and you don't call Kaepernick, it's almost like you don't care about winning this year. Yeah. Seriously, and I know that sounds crazy, but that's the way it is.
Number 5, Josh Norman, Dalvin Cook, Marcus Mariota, Derek Carr, Julio Jones, Cliff Avril. Man, this is a tough list.
Right?
Rough list of this
and it's
week.
not even including Odell and Vernon, who are probably going to play this week.
Cliff Avril, Mike, what's his name? Ty Montgomery.
Yeah.
And I don't know who Adams is. Are just a few of the big names.
The wide receiver for the Packers.
Oh, Devontae. Oh, my God. Yeah. Devontae Adams. Of the big names who suffered big injuries during Week 4. Now more than ever is the NFL season a war of attrition.
Yeah. But mostly because of the salary cap. There's always been injuries in the NFL, right? I mean, always, because that's the way the NFL is. But in 1986, the Giants could afford to have Jeff Hostetler as their backup quarterback and afford to have all these great players as their backups because you could afford to pay them because there wasn't a salary cap. Mm-hmm. Now you can't afford to pay guys. So your second-string guy might be a 7th-round pick or a guy you're paying the veteran minimum to or whatever. And he is definitely not as good as the guy who's starting because if he was, he'd be making a ton of money somewhere else as a starter on that team. So now, at the end of the season, it may not be the best 5 teams that are left or the best 8 teams that are left. It'll be the teams that are the most healthy now, and that's how really who wins, unless you're the Patriots. Let's put them aside for a second because they can have a ton of injuries, and it doesn't ever really seem to affect them. But for most of the mortal teams out there, if you have a ton of injuries, you're done. You're done.
I mean, guys are dropping like flies in the NFL. I mean, there's nothing else. Dalvin Cook with a torn ACL, Mariota with a hamstring. The Vikings are pretty much screwed at this point.
I mean, it's just like...
I mean, you're going with Case Keenum and Latavius Murray. I mean,
But again, Colin Kaepernick's sitting right there.
I know. I mean, Ty Montgomery was tough. The Devontae Adams, I thought he was dead when he got hit because he was unconscious.
Julio Jones is hurt again.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the nature of the beast. And I mean, the thing about the NFL is, here's the sad part. These injuries are the second most important thing going on in the NFL because the first thing is all the crap around kneeling for the national anthem and how everyone wants to know how teams are going to handle the national anthem every week to the point where networks are televising it.
Well, but there's only one person to blame for that.
Yeah. And that's it. And I mean,
Mr. Trump.
And the thing is, you see it with, the London game was another thing. It's like almost like you're just like, okay, the Thursday game. How are the Buccaneers going to come out for the national anthem? It just gets ridiculous after a while.
It does indeed. Number 6, Craig, real simple. Was last night's Chiefs-Skins game the craziest backdoor cover you've ever seen? And does a finish like that make you more likely or less likely to bet on NFL games?
I say less likely. I'm not a bettor to begin with, but...
But it doesn't get you excited.
I'm sure all the compulsive gamblers will disagree with me on this one, and fair enough because, that's what you do. The fact is like that would scare me from ever placing a bet of more than $5 ever again.
Right?
Okay, because it is. You think you got the game won, like, okay, I'm going to shut the TV off now because I got this. And all of a sudden, there's a loan shark at your door the next day because you don't know what happened in the Chiefs-Skins game the night before.
I mean, like, what if you bet, like, your life savings on the Skins with 4 seconds left? You were like, nailed it. You're toasting. You got a little Veuve Clicquot. You're all ready with the bubbly. You're good to go. And all of a sudden, lateral fumble. Guy runs it in for a touchdown. Unfriggin' believable.
Number 7, the Giants lost another heartbreaker to the Buccaneers on Sunday. Have now lost 2 games because of their offense and 2 games because of their defense and special teams. They would basically have to go 10-2 the rest of the way to win the division, I'm assuming?
No, just like, unless they go 10-2, which would get them at what? 10-6.
Yeah.
And that might get them into the playoffs. Like, unless they make the playoffs, let's just put it that way.
So basically, they'd have to go 10-2 the rest of the way, and with their schedule, probably not going to happen.
No.
Here's the question. After all this, will the Giants fire Jerry Reese and Ben McAdoo?
I think they fire Reese, not McAdoo. I think they have... I don't think that there's any way you can let Jerry Reese continue to be the GM of this team when he outright refuses to address the offensive line. It is almost criminal what he is doing with this offensive line. And if you think about McAdoo, like, I think at this point, McAdoo just keeps running Eric Flowers out there just to hopefully get Reese to either wake the hell up or he gets fired so he can actually get a left tackle who can play. To be honest, like, I think actually right now that he is actually sending out Eric Flowers to prove a point more than anything else.
You know what I kind of thought was funny about Giant fans this week? I was listening to The Fan after the game, and there's always these Giant fans that give you the one thing that they don't have, that they don't really need, but apparently that's the reason why they lost.
Yes.
So, for example, I heard this guy call in, and he was all going on and on about how the Giants don't have a fullback.
They do.
So that was the reason why they didn't win the game on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because without the fullback, the guy can't run the football.
Not that the punter shanked another punt late in the fourth quarter,
or
or that their defense
more,
was a sieve.
Or there were more drops, or the fact that there was a completely blown coverage on an O.J. Howard touchdown.
Yo, Brandon Marshall can't catch a football. It's
Same
brutal.
problem I dealt with the Jets.
It's unbelievable.
Listen, and don't get me wrong, I love Marshall.
Yeah, but he can't catch a damn football.
He's dropped some big passes in big spots, man.
Like right in his hands. We're not talking about
Yeah.
spectacular catches. Like the catch the kid almost made last night for the Redskins. That would have been spectacular. We're talking about right in the hands, baby. Brutal.
Here's what I'll say really quickly. Jerry Reese has had enough time, and he still hasn't fixed the problems that hurt this team, mainly the offensive line, and to a lesser extent, the running game. The running game really hasn't been good for a couple of years now.
It hasn't, but I think the majority of that is because of the offensive line.
Okay, but I'm saying at the same time, though, listen, I will never doubt Vernon was a solid signing. Snacks was a solid signing. Bringing Pierre Paul back was a solid signing. Marshall was a good signing, but I also understand when people say he was a luxury.
Brutal.
Okay, but at the end of the day, the offensive line was the thing they needed the most. And here's another sad part. Had plenty of time to address that in the draft and didn't address it in the draft either.
Offensive line.
Offensive line. Okay. There were some good tackles in the draft, especially where the Giants are picking. Now, I'm not saying Evan Ingram was a bad pick. I think it was a solid pick. but offensive line was more of a necessity than a tight end.
Who cares about a tight end if the quarterback doesn't have time to get him the ball?
So there you go.
Number 8, the Jets had another exciting win on Sunday, beating the Jags in overtime 23-20. And if they beat the Browns next week, we'll go into the Patriots game at the very least with the same record, Craig. Craig, what's the biggest surprise so far, and when will you allow yourself to become excited about this team?
Well, first of all, I was already excited about the team going in.
You know what I'm talking about.
They would have
when will you start to have hope that they could actually go on a run?
They would have to win 3 of their next 4.
Okay.
For me to
So that would
sold.
be what? So they'd have to be what? 5-6-3?
6-3.
Okay.
Okay. They'd have to win. No, they would be 5-3.
5-3. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. That would be my way of being excited about this team. The biggest surprise for me so far, I'd have to say, is probably the play of Josh McCown.
Okay.
Because Josh McCown has been a lot better than anybody really would have thought.
Absolutely.
I never thought he was a terrible quarterback, but I never thought he'd get them to 2-2.
Right.
Okay, so the running game, I was never really scared. I was never worried about the running game. I wasn't really worried about the offensive line either. I thought the offensive line was not getting the credit they deserved. And I always thought their defense was good. But one thing I've seen about their defense, they're swarming. They're faster. I've never seen anything like it before, believe it or not. And I saw it in the Jaguar game a few times. There was like one play, I think the Jags tried to do a screen, and there was like 3 guys waiting for him, like pretty much. I've never seen them react that quickly to a screen pass before. Testament to Bowles and what he's doing. I mean, I've knocked him. He's not my favorite coach in the world, but they are playing hard for him, and they are playing well for him.
Real quick, what this kind of tells me is that the guy they traded, Sheldon Richardson, Decker,
Harris, who's been inactive for 2 games already.
Harris, but also oh my God, Revis and Marshall may have been bigger cancers in that locker room than they were willing to let on.
Listen, give McCagnon credit. You may not have liked what he did, and I was questioning it to an extent. Like, I wanted Decker on the team. I could have cared less about the other guys, to be very honest. But the fact is, it's working.
Yeah.
And, maybe this is just a step in the right direction, and it's going to be sooner. And here's the worst part. People who are constantly saying, like, oh, well, the Jets, they're going to lose Sam Darnold. There's no guarantee. Darnold hasn't looked good at all at U.S. so far this year.
The only thing you worry about with the Jets is that they play so well this year. But, like, when I say well, they get to, like, 8-8 or 7-9 and don't get one of those quarterbacks. And then next year, yeah, the team might be good, but it's still Josh McCown or Hackenberg or Petty.
If you put yourself in a
saying?
position to go 8-8 next year, then you go after a veteran quarterback.
Okay.
You don't worry about the draft.
If
you
the
go
Giants,
out.
if
You
the
go
Giants
out
go
and
0-16, you might have Eli.
I say you go out. You make a run for Jimmy Garoppolo. You make a run for Kirk Cousins.
That's fair.
You make a run at one of those guys. You can't get the quarterback.
You absolutely can do that. Absolutely, yeah.
But listen, it's a lot to like right now with the Jets. Where it all goes from here, like for example, Sunday against Cleveland, that could be a trap game because they're going to be looking ahead to the Patriots the following week at home. So you never know how it turns out. But right now, so far, I'm very happy with the way they played. And with that, closing time is officially over. And this episode of Polar Opposites is over. And we'd like to thank everybody for listening as always. Check us out, polaropposites.podbean.com, as well as iTunes, as well as Twitter at polaropposites1, as well as Spreaker.com. Next week, back with baseball, football. We'll preview the Yankees going to the ALCS at that point. And anything else we could squeeze in, maybe even touch on a little basketball with the season right around the corner.
It's gonna be a Yankees Jets year, baby.
It's going to be a Yankees year, I'm telling you.
Yankees Jets, baby. Jets going to the Super Bowl. Yankees winning the World Series.
You can't do it as good as me.
Oh, I can do it.
Right? The Yankee fans accept your fate.
Add the Islanders and Nets in there, and we're set to go.
You'll be in the ALCS by next week. Don't worry about it. Don't hang your head. Everything will be just fine.
Yeah, okay.
One more time, polaropposites.podbean.com as well as iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at polaropposites1, and we are on Spreaker.com as well. Enjoy the week, enjoy the games, enjoy life, and we will talk again next week.
Bye.